enough. We gotta show up now on front steps, in gym lights, on porches all across downtown. Hands up, Evansville. Hands on the work. Hands on the block. Hands on the hurt. Neighbors don't quit. We learn, we build. Hands up, Evansville. Hands on the work. Light the corner after school. Keep the courts full at night.
Oh, pretty good.
I like that.
How long did we spend on that? Less than
30 seconds.
45 seconds. It took longer to come up with a
30
name.
seconds.
Yeah.
It was a one-sentence prompt into Suno AI music generator. Welcome back, Chris. Good to see you.
Good to see you guys. Been a little bit.
It has been a minute.
It has been 1 or 2 minutes.
We'll get into what you've been up to here in a minute. Travis, good to see you.
Good to see you too, sir.
Welcome, everyone. United Divided, episode number 88 with Christopher Glenn Newman. I think it's your third time here, maybe fourth?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know you at least once alone and once with Joe.
Yeah.
I thought you did another one.
Maybe
This might be
twice
number
alone
4.
or twice with
Yeah,
Joe.
maybe. That sounds right. I've slept since then.
Yeah, right?
So there's been a lot of stuff going on since last time you were here, and I think we'll get right into some of it. Obviously, there's been a lot of conversation about the violence and the guns, and like, are we seeing more of it, or are we just hearing more of it? Like that, when I'm hearing the debate going on online, and some of our friends are talking about it, and then local law enforcement is talking about it. Sheriff of the county, Noah, and Phil Hooper. Shout out to you, Phil Hooper, if you're listening. Philip Smith, the chief of police, did a sit down with Channel 14 and went through some of the things that are going on. I guess just my gut is definitely feels like there's more craziness going on out there. Just the way people are driving, the way people are acting. We're not being as courteous as we should be as a community a lot of times. I just think there's a lot of afraid emotions going on out there. What's your take on it? I mean, I know you've been posting some things online and whatever, but like, what are you sensing?
Yeah, I mean, this has been a topic since Travis and I went to the budget meeting.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, public safety was far and away the number one thing that people were saying we needed to do a better job at, focus more on within the budget. And we kind of pushed Chief Smith a little bit then about it.
And he was a good sport, to be fair.
Yeah.
He spoke openly.
And he did. But we heard it then, you know, we're seeing it, we're hearing it more. Is it because...
Sorry for the noise.
Is it because the social media age, everything's so instantaneous, we don't have to wait for the 10 o'clock news, right? Like, you know, Evansville Watch and various other outlets, it's instant. As soon as it's happening, we're hearing about it. So, you know, is it fair to say that maybe our storytelling's changed in that aspect? We're quick to report, but maybe not find all the truths in it, you know. Chief Smith did bring up a good point. You know, numerous shots fired calls come in, and a lot of times they're unfounded. Now, I would push back on that, and just because it's unfounded doesn't mean it didn't happen. Maybe it moved on, you know. But, you know, a few of my posts have garnered a lot of, you know, this isn't the same city I grew up in. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm fearful. I fear for my kids. What are we doing with our kids? Because going back, I think even former Chief Boland kind of stepped in on the conversation and shared some data back from his time where a lot of these individuals typically are repeat offenders. It's cyclic, right? Mm-hmm. Same names, same kind of violent behavior, violent problems.
Generational, didn't he say that?
Right.
Like a
Yeah.
grandfather, father, and son
Right,
or something at
right.
the same time.
So, unfortunately, perspective, right? When we're hearing that, we're seeing this. I believe when I made my post, we were averaging a shooting every 5 days, 5 to 7 days during that time. And if that paced out for the remainder of the year, we were talking, I think it was somewhere between 50 and 70 shootings in Evansville. And it's concerning when you're a small population of 115,000 people. Those percentages start creeping up. And I think that's the real metric. It's fair. We got some pushback, crime's down. Certain crimes are down. But to be fair on both sides of that, we have to, as a community, acknowledge where we are winning, right? Petty thefts may be down or whatever. Property crimes may be down. Good job. But policing a lot is reactionary, right? Especially these violent. It's hard to stop the violence. So to your point, as we introed, what's causing it? Where's the lack of patience, the lack of compassion, the lack of community, I guess, maybe? I believe the most recent shooting that led to several different arrests was like a robbery attempt over some vapes or something.
I saw that it was drug related. I wasn't sure what it was. Yeah.
And I had some pushback and some private conversations from citizens that was saying, well, let's just legalize it, or let's not focus on that, and then crime will go away. And it's like, well, it's not that easy. Kind of like I was
Let's don't focus on the crime and it'll go away.
Right.
Is that what it is?
Right. I was candid with Chief Smith, and I said, well, one of the initiatives, community building things that they do is the Coffee with Cops. Mm-hmm. And I said, I'm going to be frank. I said, I don't think the local retirement community is causing the problems, right? And
I'm an old man Withers.
I was a little sarcastic there, but what are we doing? And they brought up some initiatives that I was unaware of, that there is like a gang task force and youth in particular, but that's when we got to ask those hard questions. Are they working? Because we're seeing it. We're hearing it. We're having, I mean, it was about every third day there that 1 week where there was some kind of
For
shooting.
like 10 days, there was like 4 shootings or something. Yeah.
And a couple murders involved.
I think more than one thing can be occurring at one time here, and so we could go down many rabbit holes, but let me just piece apart a couple of these things. So I think in another program that the EPD does is Cops Connecting with Kids. I don't know if it's EPD, but so I think programs like that are definitely a good PR, and it definitely does give kids that grow up in troubled homes that are focusing on school and focusing on a better path, giving them opportunities, giving them a vision of something positive in the community. I think that absolutely has a positive effect. And I think it was either Phil or Noah was talking about like one of the people or several, now maybe might be more than one, that went to Cops Connecting with Kids as someone in school is now becoming an EPD officer. Mm-hmm. So, I think that's a super successful thing going on there. The pork that you had tonight came from a fundraiser for Cops Connecting with Kids. Mm. A good job for the guys who cooked that, by the way. Everything that we've tasted, the ribs and
your pork was
the pork loin was fantastic.
Your loin was delicious.
So I think more than one thing is occurring at one time. So I think a lot of kids that are in school and staying in school, I think, are doing better. Mm-hmm. But then you've got a whole nother segment of kids that I don't know if it was because of COVID, that they just weren't going to school, and then all of a sudden there was this big break, and then now there's a mental health crisis, and there's this, cascading downward spiral for some groups of people. Right. Whether it's mental health related or, family problems that are pushing them out on the streets. There's a lot of...
How about affordability?
There's a lot of affordability. Right. Yeah. There's also a lot of stress, anxiety, fear. There's all that. And, and then kind of an overlapping thing that we've got going on is, maybe related or unrelated, but I mean, I found out just recently, and made my blood boil, that, cities from around our area and even in other states are shipping their problem people into our community, and we're just having to deal with them. Yeah. So, is that the chief of police's fault? No, maybe not. Is it the sheriff's fault? No. If it's known enough where insiders in law enforcement are telling me about it, it's not like it's an unknown.
And what they
so why don't we just put a bulletin out and say, no, don't bring your garbage to our neighborhood and drop it off. That's not what's happening. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, yours fine. I was just saying, and that insider also kind of let us know.
There's more than one now. Well, I've had but several now.
I've spoken to one. Okay. Let us know that it was other law enforcement that did it.
Yeah.
So I mean, they I hate to say it, but they have to know. Maybe they aren't necessarily implicit. They aren't saying, "Hey, bring your trouble this way," but they have to know that it's happening, and they could probably just talk to a few other chiefs in a few different jurisdictions and be like, "Hey."
Well, that just kind of sounds like you're trying to fill jail cells. I mean, when you're ushering in criminals and homeless people, you're bogging down a system that we don't have enough money to police the number of people that we have that are law-abiding. Now you're ushering in people that are homeless and not law-abiding in many instances. Right. So I think there's a compounding problem that I want them to talk about in the open. Say, we are aware of what's going on. The city needs to be aware of what's going on. Every citizen should know that this is going on. That will change the narrative. That will change. There's an airplane coming in, folks. That will change the narrative. That will change what we expect to be talking about as a community. We're going to elect a person that is going to do something about these things that are troublesome to us.
Right. Yeah, and I think we know we know that that'll hopefully happen. But I think some of that isn't just for the jails. I think it's also more for the mental health. Because from what I remember talking to the same individual we're kind of talking about, is that a lot of times the people that get brought in need some type of mental health assistance, and we have the best, the better health care, and we have places for that to be helped, where some of the smaller communities around us don't really have a place for people that are having mental issues.
But I think that's where, through this, there's multiple truths all at the same time, right? Mm-hmm. It's great that Evansville can be a resource hub, right? But we have to have that honest, hard conversation and go, look, we're not keeping up, or we're having to.
Maybe those communities give us a little bit of a financial.
What does this look like? What's happening?
But if a normal treatment is 30 days for X, but because of constraints, because of the volume, and we can't keep up, now we're cutting that to 10. Maybe that's contributing to the cyclic problems, right? But also maybe it's that kind of brand. And there's things that make me pause and question, the jailer and the inmate that had escaped and fled to Evansville. There was another instance recently where someone came to Evansville, a criminal, right? Why? What is it about? Yes, we're kind of a hub, right? We're
at crossroads. I mean,
we're kind of like the geographical oddity from Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, right? We're 2 hours from everywhere.
Yeah.
But
I don't know enough about that case. I don't think those two people broke out of where they were and then had a plan to come to Evansville.
Right.
I think their plan was to head further south. They just got caught.
I think they just fled.
But it makes you ponder. It makes you at least me, that can that be a contributing factor that through the grapevines of crime syndicates or whatever, because obviously there's a drug problem in Evansville, and for there to be a drug problem, people are bringing drugs in, right? And clearly, if you look at the stats of confiscated guns, there's a gun issue, and those guns are getting here somehow. So somebody has a plan, and somebody's bringing it here for whatever reason, and is it because we're a resource hub and these people are coming to Evansville and getting treatment, so now they're in Evansville and they need a way to get their fix, and that's why it's here? Is all that contributing? I don't know. But
Well, I mean, we are a very well known intersection between Chicago and going south,
Right.
and well, I mean, we're right in the middle of a bunch of big cities.
Right.
So we are a corridor.
Right.
I mean, we have cash houses that house drug money. We have so anytime you're in an intersection like that, you absolutely are going to have some of the stuff that
Right.
builds out from that, whether it's cartel or gang or whatever. Unfortunately, that's
So
going to be there.
I guess my question then, or my pushback, is then what do you do proactively ahead of that? Because in my mind, you cannot reactive police that. It's a no-win. That's how you end up with murders. And in my mind, when you let that go to that, I mean, it seems like now the instant reaction is shoot. Okay, and no, we're not as populist, but when you start solving problems with shooting, especially in public, like the one incident was a road rage incident that ended up at an apartment complex, and I actually witnessed some of it. And what was funny was the amount of people with guns still drawn pulling into the gas station while they were, and
You mean the amount of cops or the amount of citizens?
citizens
Have
driving
they
down
had
the
guns
road
drawn?
and with the cops having their guns drawn trying to figure out what the hell,
gotcha.
and people pulling into the parking lot, to
Trying
make
to get
trying to
they
get
had
their
5
viral
minutes of
video.
fame.
But again, those bullets are non-discriminatory. Once it leaves that weapon and it's an untrained person that's just out to do harm or get their drugs or whatever, right? And it enters a car that's passing by or an apartment behind or whatever. And innocent people start, like, it is unacceptable. Any life loss is unacceptable in my mind. But when it gets into innocent that wasn't even part of the situation and we're just reactionary policing. Now, I don't know all the ins and outs of the programs and the investigations, but I mean, every 5 to 7 days, that's a lot. And it's not even, typically crime goes up in summer as it gets hot and you start seeing that violence. We're only in April. What happens in July, August, September when it's really hot and the corn's sweating, So we can't talk. We have to accept both truths that crime may be down, but we've got a violent problem right now, and what are we going to do?
So we have a longtime listener, first-time caller here. Her name's Shonda. She chimed in, and it's pertinent to what we're talking about here. She said, in my honest opinion, when I have served as a pro tem judge in juvie court, my first observation is, and my first question is, where is the child's father? Is he in jail? Is he absent? Is he drug addicted? Often it's the grandparents only, no mom even. That's a huge problem. And most of the gun violence lately has been hugely those young people.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point, Shonda. And
Yeah.
she's definitely an insider in that realm. And I think so. I always come back to COVID, and I hate to do that, but it really, to me, disjointed so many things, and it left us. People are confused, afraid, more even than. I mean, things have gone kind of crazy, and then the amplification of everything with social media. My wife sent me a video today. It looked like blue angels or something flying between two buildings because AI is, and she's like, "Is this real?" And to her credit, it looked like it could have been real. But she's like, "That's got to be highly illegal." And then she found out it was not real. But so this kind of overlap with also people being in the social media sphere and seeing things going on in the big city, and you got the people wanting to be cool and doing the same thing. Those people, there's just so many things that are hinging, kind of coming together here. I wouldn't say hinging, but it's like massive mental health problems. Yes, massive drug and alcohol problems because, again, during COVID, everyone drank more and everyone did more drug. Everyone ate more. I mean, everyone did more of everything.
Right.
And so I still don't think the ship ever got righted from that. And to me, mostly it's because, not mostly because, part of the reason that it's not getting better and there's no end in sight to most people is no one's acknowledging it, no one's talking about it, no one's saying, yes, these are contributing factors, and how do we start healing those divides? Like, how do we heal what happened there? And instead we're just like, move on to the next thing, the next headline and the clickbait and the, so I don't know. This is one of those things I really don't, I can't point a finger at the chief or the sheriff in any capacity. I know the chief is very understaffed, and I think part of the interview, did you see, I think
he acted like
he's going to help him out. Like the sheriff's office is going to help out the city on some program or something that's going on.
Are you talking about that clip right after they're on 14 News?
Yeah.
Did he say it in that clip? So when we were at the budget meeting, he acted like they were doing pretty good. He was like, "Oh, we've only got like 7 vacancies." We got like, he tried to spin it like they were doing great. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
Once again, nothing against Phil, nothing against Chief, but so when he at the budget meeting acted like everything was great, and then in this video he's trying to blame issues on the fact that they're low on manpower. I think you need to pick a road, like you need to pick a lane and use that lane regardless of how you want the optics to be. If you're short staffed, that's great. I flat out asked him, I was like, "What? How many do you have? How many do you need? What's going on?" And he was like, "Oh, we're doing better than we have."
Towards the end of it, I don't remember which one was it, sheriff or the or Phil. There's like, if you want to get involved, go down, turn in an application, and we'll hire you. I mean,
I hear that. All I'm saying is that when we were there, he acted like it wasn't a problem. On the video, he acted like it was a problem. So I just want to pick a lane. Once again, not trying to. He's doing great. I support him. I back the blue like crazy. I will, if a cop's getting shot at, I will stop and help. Like, even if he's getting tackled, I don't know. Like, I totally support that. I don't think they have enough resources. I think that it's a tough job. I used to want to do it. I'm glad I never did, because they are not treated nicely anymore. I mean, if you remember like 30 years ago, like cops were well respected. Kids would go up to them and shake their thing, like be all excited, and now kids are flipping them the bird and telling them that whatever. I don't know.
So you just teed this up really nicely for something that we can talk about. So I got a clip from Florida. Everyone knows that Florida's having an influx of people wanting to move there. Their property taxes have gone away. I don't think they have state income tax, and apparently law enforcement officers are fleeing areas like this and going to Florida because they are much more respected. Like, people that are moving there are fleeing the crime-ridden areas, and they're getting away from that stuff. So I think part of this is here. I am going to point the finger a little bit back at the chief and the sheriff and our mayor. And I mean, our government, I'm not a Democrat or a Republican, but our government is 90% Democrat right now. And, but the last mayor was a Republican in name, but we're still ran by mostly Democrat and Democratic principles, in my opinion. And this is something that the Democrats fail on very, very massively in their own party. They don't self-police the way they talk about cops, and how they don't stand up when their national party are, telling people to protest in the street and get in the middle of things. And they're basically their party leaders are incentivizing people to get out and to cause problems, and no one locally calls them out at any level. And like Mary Allen, whoever's trying to go for, she kind of goes with whatever the party's saying and whatever the hot topic is of the day, instead of, I think if you want to win this region or any area that doesn't want crime and things to go up, you need to be calling that stuff out. You're like, our party owns part of this. I'll take half the blame. Let's work on it together. Let's fix it. And you just don't hear that. And so part of it is, again, a point right back to the chief and and to the sheriff. It's like your party is making it hard for cops to be cops in our area, in a lot of areas, because of the narratives and because of the things that are said and the things that are allowed. Go back, you're wearing the Charlie Kirk shirt, and you had people in the Democratic Party largely celebrating the violence that went on there, and what I heard from local leaders, even and people in schools, was like, we got to respect their First Amendment rights. I'm like, you can protect their First Amendment rights. You can say you have the right to say that. You're free to say what you want, but you're not free from the consequences of the things that you say. And the consequences of this is downhill is we're seeing an epidemic of violence is more and more accepted. And people that cheer it in one hand, if it happens to a person over here, are going to blame everyone else whenever it's happening to somebody that they know and revere. So at some point, we just got to have these open conversations. And I'm not saying any of our elected officials have cheered any of that on, but they're most certainly sitting on their hands and being quiet in a lot of instances. So I don't know if either you have a comment on that or not, but
yeah, I think that it goes with everyone, it seems, especially in the political realm, wants to set a narrative to where they and their party looks the best it can. It's all about votes. It's
Optics.
all about,
Votes
and
optics. Yeah, definitely.
And I think we got to
get
we got to get away from that. We got to quit telling stories just to buy votes, to get support. Not everybody's going to agree with you all the time, and if they do, that's a red flag. Yeah. You know what I mean? They're selling you something. They're, you know what I mean? If someone agrees with everything that I say, I'm worried, because what are they up to?
Yeah, right.
You know, I mean, I'm quite frank. I mean, my wife and I have been together for 20 years.
Get it right.
And, you know, I mean,
how many years?
20.
Okay.
And you know,
we're gonna get him in trouble for that.
We don't agree with each other on most things.
Yeah, that's
really.
Kind of most
you know,
things.
So I can't imagine that. You know, why we storytell that. State why you feel it, or you believe it, or you back it. This is why, and leave it at that. And support it. Again, back to you can't both go, crime is down, but we're seeing an uptick in violence. You're
so crime is down, violent crime is up. Yeah, it's
you know, two things can be true, but tell the story right. Don't sell it and stress it that crime's down. When we've seen, you know, well, murders are down from 22. Well, why'd you pick 22? Because that was a peak year, you know.
Well, and that was annual. We're only in April.
Right, we're only in April.
That's my thing too.
So of course they're down. You know, and again, if you look at that statistic that Sheriff Robinson shared on like homicides, it's real spiky, because it's a lower number percentage, you know, per our capita. So it looks, you know, oh well, if we're down one, it's a big drop. But that's the optics of it. And again, you
plus,
can
I don't think 25 or 26 were in there, right? It was only
on one. There was another one where it was,
oh, okay.
And that was odd in itself. But you know, you can make statistics say whatever you want it to if you change it. Let's tell the story as it is, not how we want it to steer it. Is my complaint. And then to be fair, as a society, we can't sit here and go, crime skyrocketing. What are we going to do? You know, violence is up right now, and we need to focus on it. But it's not fair to the chief or the sheriff to be like, crime's out of control. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Because it's reactionary. The sheriff nor the chief can stop every shooting from happening right now. We can do better.
Well, and it's not popular to talk about it either. I mean, like, so one of the big pushes has been since in the prior administration with Lloyd Winnicky and to now is they're, trying to make Evansville downtown more of a place people want to go and live, and
Right.
probably retirement community and all these different things going on. And, but I'll say I had an office downtown at 420 Main Building, the one that got tore down. Now they're building all those, whatever those new structures are. I guess it's a mixed
it's
use building,
use.
mixed use facility. But I had an employee that lived down there on Main Street, right across the street. And, he's a big dude, could take care of himself. But I mean, he got put in uncomfortable situations multiple times by people like threatening him,
Yeah.
got a knife pulled on him. I mean, that's been many, many years ago.
Right.
And so the stuff was going on then. And, again, I don't think that was necessarily the prior administration's fault either.
Right.
There's a whole level of things. I mean, part of it has to be, mental health, but like, what do we do with people that are violent? Like, they basically end up everyone's problem rather than being their own family's problem.
Right.
I like what Shonda said is like, they lack a father figure and a disciplinarian in a household, or you got a single family, either a mom or a dad, and they're having to be the mom and the dad, and it's hard to do both.
Right.
It's hard to do one of them
Right.
really well, let alone both.
Or grandparents that, they feel bad, they feel obligated, or what, it's family, right? So they're not in a place to raise the kids, but they try as
do the best you can.
And a lot of times family are the last to give up. And I don't mean that in such a negative context, but sometimes you have to realize that it's out of what you're capable of doing. But I think Travis touched on a good point too, is you circle around that affordability, and one of our other hot topics in Evansville for the last 8 months are utility rates. And what we often talk about with that is people are having to choose from keeping the lights on and buying medicine. And with your point of mental health, a lot of people are on mental health medication. Mm-hmm. And if they're choosing to keep the lights on over that medication, I mean,
yeah, I could definitely.
There's no telling where you're going to end up.
So we've got another.
If you're schizophrenic and not, if you're bipolar and not, you're manic, and you're hitting those paranoid moments. I mean, what do you don't have a choice but violence at that point.
Yeah.
Well, sorry. What was?
No, you're fine. I was just saying we've got another caller over here. We have Melanie, who first thing she said was that the sheriff's department is also low on funding for task forces and things. So she feels that that's an issue.
Hi, Melanie.
Yeah. But the other thing is we were, when talking about the violent crime and whatnot, she said this. She doesn't feel it's a political issue. She says this is a kids raising themselves issue, parentless environments. We need men, mentors, and healthy role models involved. And I don't think she's wrong.
No, she's 100% correct. I actually had a conversation with Melanie, let's say Wednesday. It might have been a couple days ago, might have been late last week. She's very concerned about something that she's had happen close to her in her home. She's dealing with one of her family members that has basically had a major addiction problem to social media and to electronics. Mm-hmm. And it's caused a lot of problems and friction in the home. And she's, to her credit, getting very involved and very active. She's very passionate about the topic. And
I think social media is the bane of our freaking society. I wish it could all be deleted and we don't remember it or something. Yeah. It's awful.
Well, I mean, and I think that's kind of why you and I have focused so heavily on AI, because basically it's taking the lessons that we didn't learn from social media and putting them on speed forward, because AI is so much smarter. Using these large language models and AI being integrated into Facebook and all these social media platforms now, it's basically, it learns every person's intricate behaviors and how to manipulate them and create more screen time. And so it's between bad food, screen time, not being outside enough, just kind of the normalization of violence and things that are going on, with I don't know where it all comes from, but it's definitely something that it's going to take people like Melanie and people like Shonda and people like us demanding more conversations. I mean, we have to get involved. We have to make our community safer again together. It can't be on the police. The police are there whenever a problem has already happened. They're not there to prevent the problems.
Well, I think that's why you and I don't know about Chris or not, but we all try to protect ourselves. We all,
we have a little thing.
we all carry.
There's nothing behind you there that
We're all
indicates
ready
that.
to. Oh yeah, I forgot about that being back there.
Or behind me.
That's yours. I don't
or
know
behind
about
me
that.
for that matter.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's shotgun over there. But I mean, so cops will come definitely, and they're going to be there to hopefully help. But it's going to be a situation that's they can't get there fast enough if a situation's occurring. You need to also be able to protect yourself.
Right.
But Melanie agreed with you apparently very emphatically because she said yes with many S's.
Lots of S's.
She said it's removing one's ability to critically think for themselves. I think she's speaking of social media. But
Social media and AI overlap.
yeah.
But I think too, you kind of somewhat touched on this too, and again, just looking at this broadly, I think that's another part of the problem is we've got parts of society that feels like our police force, be it sheriff or police itself, are part of the governmental political problem and do not trust them.
Oh yeah, there are some that don't.
So they try to police themselves their way. They handle they don't
Street vengeance.
right. They don't hey, this is going down.
Oh, it's always been that way.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and I saw it the other day. I saw a gentleman got stopped and was questioning, and a couple guys, just random guys, walked up and tried to interfere, and I was like, they're just asking him questions.
Locally, or was this more national?
Locally.
Was it locally?
Yeah. And I'm like, what is going on?
I love when keyboard attorneys, are like,
Yes.
you don't have to say anything.
Yeah.
Tell them you're not, whatever.
Don't do this. Don't do that. But there is that line on both. To be fair, that there's certain people that that one bad instance that happened wherever,
A little bit of abuse here or there to get the
has
product
totally ruined their faith, and they don't.
Nobody's perfect.
They don't
I'll
provide
agree with that.
information. They don't. So then it continues. And again, talk about cyclic. Especially in gang, right? This gang goes after this gang, and I'm not saying anything because I don't trust you're going to come after me. So now this gang retaliates, and it just starts a vicious circle, and there's no way out of it. But to that point of Melanie's, what do we do then? How do we connect with these kids? How do we step in? Because it's all they've known, right? If they've grown up in a fatherless home or a parentless home, they've raised themselves, or brother or sister has raised them. They had addict parents or whatever. That's all they've ever known. How do we step in and break that cycle?
Well, I think so. We haven't heard much about RFK recently, and I think a lot of that is because there are some positive things that are coming out of Maha. And I do have a clip here. I'll set it up basically by saying I think it's July of 2026. Oh, sorry. Was that me?
Yeah, I think you still have the song playing in the background.
Oh, thank you. Sorry about that, folks. Where am I? There I am. So you talked about the kind of the addiction, and I know Melanie is fighting that fight right now. There's legislation that's been passed that is going to it's called bell to bell, and kids are not going to be able to have their cell phones out or in accessible while they're at school. So I mean, I think that is a good start, just because it's something that they're not going to use it to think. It's going to make them use some of the skills that they're going to have to take AI and be able to still think critically and use AI, but not rely on AI too much. So I think there's a lot of things there that are good, and it's also teaching them to not be with it 24/7, because it is really an addiction. I mean, it's like if I got an opioid clip that I'm going to share for this, but it's like kids, you'll see them, like you'll say, hey, go do this, and like on the way to doing that, they're looking at their phone or trying to do something, or they hurry up and do that thing so they can get back to the thing that they're whatever. So.
Yeah.
My only pushback, just a smidge, and I agree with all of that. I don't want them to have it like out or anything, but having them accessible, I don't know, is a bad thing, because if something goes wrong or if something is wrong, it's kind of nice for them to be able to immediately be able to call for help. You know what I mean? As far as I'm not going as far as like active shooter, but I mean, what if somebody, has a heart attack thanks to COVID or thanks to the vaccine? No, I'm kidding. But what if there's an issue there, and now I don't know if schools.
Well, I think they're keeping them in the room. I think they can keep them in their bag. They're just not.
Okay, that's what I was.
I think there's variances.
You said
like probably every city or county or whatever will have their own nuances of that. And honestly, that's what we need. We need different areas trying different things to see what works the best, not just going down one pathway.
But to that point, I mean, when we grew up, we didn't have phones.
We had phones in the classroom, though. There was a phone there was a hard line.
Maybe the teacher keeps the phone out up front. Like if something happens, come grab the phone and call or whatever.
Well, maybe, but it's probably the teacher's phone and it's probably locked to the teacher's thing. And what if something happens to the teacher? That's the only thing that I'm saying.
I mean, that's the nuanced laws that you could say you need to have a phone in the room that kids can use if something happens. I mean, that's just a minor nuance that you could do in the school, I think.
No, I agree with that.
I mean, that's a valid point. I mean, in case of emergency. For sure.
But in 2 years, I mean, I've seen many a young adult, even adult, and walk right into a car, a wall. I mean, you name it.
Or two people sitting on the same sofa, texting each other or something.
Hey,
we're picking up kids, picking up our kids from school, and you see they just walk through the parking lot, going to their cars, and just totally.
But if you recall, so one of the things though, if you recall, at different times, students have captured some educators that probably shouldn't be educators by recording them on their phones, them saying awful things about certain people. I mean, I won't go into it, but I mean, so some of that might I think go away a little bit.
I think there you get into now if you're doing it as a investigative journalist or a whistleblower, I think there's got to be some leniency there.
Right.
Again, if you have it in your bag or something, and you're going in, you're getting it, and you're getting on Snapchat, and you're just doinking around.
Yeah.
I mean, there has to be some discipline there. There has to be.
But how would they know? That's what I'm asking. So if you're saying something offensive, and I'm sitting here like this, if it's police every phone, then the teacher's going to be like, "Well, put that away," or you're going to whatever.
Well, most of the time, whenever that happens, it's somebody on the side that's catching an engagement.
Right.
Right.
Not always.
But I'm just saying, if they're no longer allowed, then any phone that's out is going to be a big they're doing it. They're
I mean, we're talking about such percentages. What we're talking about.
I just want to push at you, I guess.
No. I like the pushback, but I mean, we're talking about every kid potentially being addicted to social media, and you're talking about.
And I'm not against it.
1 in 1,000.
I'm not against this teacher. At all. Like, I want kids to be away from devices. I want them to be away from social media. So I guess, but I don't know how to. I don't know the happy middle ground.
Your pushback's relevant, but what I'll say is it's kind of like the greater good argument. Are you going to sacrifice every kid and let them have this electronic and get addicted to it, just in case this one thing, 1 in 1,000 or 5,000 teachers or whatever get caught doing something strange in a classroom? I mean, I think that's if you demand safety or to get security, whatever it is, the thing, if you ask for security, you don't get safety or freedom. Right. I forget. Damn, I totally flipped that.
For losing freedom for safety and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, if you deserve neither one of them. I just feel
I think some of this stems back also though from how you're being raised. I think
100%.
So
how do we get back to that in a community? I mean, I think part of this conversation between the three of us today, to me, was kind of like, where are we as a community, city of Evansville and surrounding counties? Like, how are we doing, and what do we need to do better? Like, how can we make things better as a community?
I remember, and kind of, I guess I'm getting in the weeds a little bit.
That's all we do around here.
I think I did too, so you might as well join us.
We should have called this the weed conversation.
We went
wrong weed,
and I'm not going to get real deep into it, but we went and watched young children playing soccer, and this is educational, like not a real size field, smaller field. Everybody, you know,
A lot of them's first time ever being on a field kicking the ball. Yeah.
And I'm just kind of watching, and I'm listening and kind of scanning the crowd and seeing, and the reactions out of what I'll just deem the fans. Come on, you know. And I thought, these kids, if they were 8, I'm probably being gracious. And I was like, this is creepy. You know, that it was like it was the World Cup. And so it got me thinking to when I was young and I was playing t-ball for the first time. And I remember the people in the stands just sitting there. That was it. And at the end of the game, you know, everybody clapped. There really wasn't a winner or a loser per se. There was, but it wasn't like, and I thought, is this where we're going wrong? You know, I remember thinking kind of about the violence, right? Like when I was in school, if there was a disagreement during the day, there was a gentleman's agreement or a gentlewoman
to fight after school.
That we had a designated meetup spot.
Meet you outside. We'll figure it out.
Catch me outside.
And every once in a while, it would get to the liaison, and they would be waiting at said meetup spot.
Yeah.
And it was settled, and that was the end of it. That's just simply how it was. And I thought, is this a circumstance of what we did? And I'm not saying violence and fighting is the answer, right? But we completely,
I don't know.
As we came up, right, we completely, you can't fight.
When in the history of the world has violence not been a part of the solution?
But you know, you can't fight, you can't settle your differences, you can't. And then COVID came in, and everybody completely.
I think you're
lost all emotional.
You're really
reality.
onto something. You're really onto
reality.
Something. Yeah.
Right. And now we're so used to this that you being on the other end of this has no value to me. Right? There's. Right. You're just a name.
That's why I like in-person podcasts instead of Zooms. You know, because you don't have that.
So, if I take your life, you're not really alive, right? This is all we know. Yeah. There's no.
It could be an avatar,
right?
So I would give a little pushback on the kids at the soccer field thing, a little bit.
Oh, he's one of the yellers.
I am. I really am.
He just told on himself.
It's only to like try. But I think there's a little more to this conversation. I am more like trying to assist in my daughter learning what to do. So I'll say things like rebound, come on Gracie, you can do it, or use the backboard, or you know, I'm trying to help a little bit because I mean you normally have like volunteer coaches. They aren't like at that age. She's 8. You mentioned 8.
Right.
You don't know, like they're just kind of volunteering. They're trying to do their best, but I mean they can't police. Like it's like cats in a. It's like it's like herding cats at this point, especially
on a linoleum floor.
It's a wooden floor, I think. This was basketball. Excuse me, this was basketball. But I mean, but when you do get those parents who like yell at the ump and like throw things at the ump throw things at the. Okay, so that's a different thing to me. So I agree that that's probably a problem. But when you get some of the parents that are just trying to encourage.
But where do you draw the line?
Well, but I would draw the line from encouragement to nothing help. So something unhelpful. I don't know.
Not being derogatory. Like, how about this? Use the backboard, you idiot, or something like that.
Yeah, okay, that's a problem. Yeah.
Right.
No, but being supportive versus non-supportive. I don't know.
So again, I'm going to push back on you.
Yeah, let's do this.
So you spoke of volunteer coaches and volunteer.
You need to have yourself on the three-way.
And in time, sometimes I've seen these volunteer coaches being young men and women themselves.
Yeah.
You know.
Usually it's parents. Usually it's parents of kids on that team is what it tends to be in my.
What if they're doing the best they can? Right.
Right.
And what if? And we'll use your example. Your daughter hearing your voice. Mm-hmm. Oh well, I'm just listening to dad, not coach. So what if that is starting that? You're not my dad. You don't tell me what to do. So again, what I'm saying is, where do you draw that line?
Yeah, I don't know.
And when does that stop? Because
I think organized organized sports that have coaches that are more in tune with, because these coaches are just trying to make sure they're not like licking the wall.
Right.
Like, I mean, like it's, they're just they are hurting so hard. But once you get, I think, to a point where the coach can actually coach and the kid can actually listen to the coach,
right.
I think that's where you let the coach do their thing, and I'd be totally okay with that.
Right.
At her current age, just trying to learn the sport, I think if the coach isn't saying, maybe that's where it is. If the coach isn't saying something, then that's where maybe I might just kind of be like, come on, rebound.
Right.
Also, my kid is a head taller than every other child on that court. So I want that.
Right.
That's going to be her thing. Like right now, at least, until everybody catches up with you, you're going to be one hell of a rebounder. So let's get you out there and let's rebound. But I mean, I guess if a coach is telling her the same thing, then I wouldn't say it, I think.
Right.
Well, and I would tell you, first and foremost, go volunteer to be a coach.
I have coached some of her sports.
I'm just saying. I mean, that wasn't.
Oh, you mean in general?
That wasn't to
everybody
you.
volunteer.
That wasn't to you. Same with officiating. I mean, I think officials of sports are becoming fewer and far between. Kind of on the same trajectory as law enforcement.
Because there's no win.
There's no win, and they don't make bad money. I mean, those guys that do it. First of all, a lot of them really enjoy officiating. The ones that do it well and then whatever, they really enjoy it. I know several that are very passionate about it. But there is a drawing line, and I've been guilty myself. Like if I see a bad call, it's hard for me just to sit on it.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because I mean, everybody watching a game, if you're watching a game, you're yelling at the television.
Right.
Like, how did you miss that foul? And
My wife laughs at me when I'm like,
that guy,
they don't hear you, Travis.
that referee can't hear you. I'm sure they're getting it there.
That's true, I guess. Yeah.
But at the end of the day,
Well, and with that, I think again, we haven't kept up with the technology. Baseball, for example, now with the review of balls and strikes.
Yeah. But you only get two.
When you're watching at home, right? It's easy to see because they put that nifty
That
before they had review.
you
right?
only get two if they're.
But
You only get two if you don't get the call right.
I think you only get two.
Even if,
I don't think they're going to give you.
What if the
unlimited.
umpire's missing all of them?
I don't think they give
Just
you.
hurry up and burn the two, and then
I don't think they give you unlimited, so they hold them in their pocket. Like if it's the second inning and it's a bad call, but they don't use it, then they.
I think if it's a ball or strike issue, they can challenge every one of them.
Yeah,
because
I don't watch enough baseball.
I haven't watched it enough. I guess I thought that
There's been a lot overturned.
I think that one umpire caused that. Who was it? He had a whole series of videos on him.
Oh, I know the
Angel Hernandez.
Yeah, Angel Hernandez. That's
like even missing him by.
Because CB Buckner's pretty bad so far this year.
We're getting on a weird tangent. I just want to real quickly chime in because our callers have really started chiming in for a little bit when we were talking. I just want to kind of get before we go off onto some weird tangent. So Melanie said when we were talking about kids in class and whatnot, I'm going back a little bit, but she was talking about life skills and interpersonal communication classes early on may help bring human connection back. We need empathy for each other. She also said maybe having panic buttons in the classroom where we were talking about phone calls and whatnot, panic buttons. She said put cameras in the classroom. I don't know how I feel about that. Maybe.
Yeah,
in the classroom, I think
I would push back on that. I don't like that.
I don't know. Well, you also don't like flock cameras, so
Yeah, I was going to say that won't get
we'll talk about that here. We can talk about that here in a minute.
No, I don't. I mean,
But I just want to kind of sum up what she's. But they all said they have anxiety when they're separated from devices, and that's absolutely true. My daughter's only allowed to have her tablet a few hours on a Saturday and a Sunday. She doesn't get it throughout the week. So the moment you tell her she can no longer have that tablet, it's like I took away her oxygen. It's like she's fighting me for. Like, God, just relax.
Yeah.
She says addiction leads to death, institutions, or jail. We need presence. We need more presence. She said, why don't we ask our kids what they need is not being met and how we can fill the gap? COVID stole our kids and connected them to trauma. It's better than cell phones in all of the kids' hands. I'm not sure what that last one.
I'll have her clarify that.
It's better than cell phones.
I'm going to come back in the life skills and the communication. So, I feel I've been talking about this a lot. I've thought about it ever since I graduated with an education degree from college. Is our education system has not been good for a very long time, and this is not a plug on anti-teacher. I love teachers. I'm friends with a lot of them. I think they do the best that they can do with what they're given.
Yep.
And I wholeheartedly mean that. And both of our kids have been in school, and one's graduated. We've only had a couple really, really bad teachers, and those people ended up going away. That's just what happened. But to Melanie's point, we've talked about it a lot, you and I, is like, yeah, kids need to be able to feel like they have the freedom to tell you what they need, but they also need to be forced into situations that are uncomfortable, to have conversations that are uncomfortable. I firmly believe every kid should be forced as a part of curriculum to do debate and to do like civil conversation, and how you can take both sides and, learn what empathy means through understanding what this person is dealing with when they're talking from this angle. And the only way to do that is through a public education system, because you are absolutely not going to get every parent, because we've already talked about the degenerate parents. I mean, we're not just degenerate. Even me and my wife, who are super busy and trying to start businesses and run practices, like, you don't have time to do all that all the time, unfortunately, and that's a product of society. That's a whole nother debate that we could have, but we have to talk about locally. It's EVSC and local other school administrations around the city, but we need to talk about what classes we are getting them in, and they need to be talking about what's coming with AI. There needs to be real conversations that our kids are not being prepared for, and it's like they put all these things like, well, the parents should be doing that. The parents should be doing that. Yes, the parents should be doing the most. In the best case scenarios with the best set of parents, they probably are doing most of everything. Mm-hmm. Most parents don't have the time, and they're also not with their kids for 6-8 hours a day like schools are. Mm-hmm. So let's change how schools operate. I don't know what that looks like. I'm not the expert, but let's.
And I would say too that we need to get back to allowing families to be families and have family time. Like you said, lives are busy. Be it if you've got a child that is an athlete, there's a lot of sacrifices made. Both of our kids at one time or another were athletes. But, I remember, and my family wasn't the uber closest family in the world, but we still did like dinner nights and sat around a dinner table and talked, and then we would watch. Of course, I think we only had one TV
and three channels, and
we would watch this show or the sitcoms of the day, right, as a family, and we would talk and we'd share, and those are my fond memories of growing up. Spending, I remember watching when the earthquake hit during the World Series, and it was like, where'd the game go? And then come to find out this huge earthquake had hit,
What year would that have been? Like in the 80s?
It was, I want to say 89, but
okay. Because I don't recall that.
It was the big one in California where like the highways collapsed on each other, and
I remember that very, very.
Maybe 87.
Hang on, I'll tell you. 89, you're right.
89.
October 17th, 1989. 5:04 p.m.
But yeah, I remember that. And I remember the whole, my brother is 8 years younger than me, and so he wasn't very old, but he was in there, and we were watching. Mom wasn't happy because she didn't really want to be watching baseball. So, we were watching it. Those moments,
Most kids don't know those moments anymore.
They don't know that. Everybody, we've got, I don't know how many TVs. I'm embarrassed at how many TVs we've got in our house. But when they're on, we don't use any of them hardly ever. You know what I mean? And I don't think hardly ever do we ever watch something as a family like we used to.
Well, I think this is
because now you have. Sorry,
no, go ahead.
You've got so many choices that this one wants to watch this movie or this sitcom or whatever. Mm-hmm. But we had back then, it was a schedule. The news was on at like 5, and then your sitcoms started.
All in the Family.
Yeah, ours was, I think we watched The Cosby
Cheers.
Show.
Oh, okay.
Cheers was one.
You remember Wings? I loved Wings.
Wings?
Remember Wings?
I do remember
that. Was a little later. That was like the early 90s.
What was the one? Newhart. Bob Newhart.
Oh, the Bob Newhart show?
Yeah. that, but is that contributing the disconnect? Because
It's all distraction. You say disconnect, but we have the ability, we have the
technology,
the internet,
exists back
every show at our fingertips,
Right.
available at every second,
Right.
and every song
and
that you
then
want to hear.
too, I would argue, is it the reliance on homework? Because I remember,
Oh, I had a ton of homework when I was a kid, even.
And I don't know. I don't.
if
know.
I spent an hour on homework, that was a lot. That was killer.
I was probably hour to an hour and a half, 2 hours a night usually.
Well,
It depends on what age.
That's really changed. They don't.
It depends on what age you're talking about too.
That has really changed. It's not anything like that anymore. I
My
wanted
daughter,
to,
it is.
I
We've
wanted
got
to
homework almost every night.
I wanted to talk about something that you said, and this is more of a social program conversation that's probably going to torque some people off. And
let's ruffle some feathers, baby.
We might get some friction. But the programs that we've established, meaning rewarding people for bad behavior or rewarding people for less than optimal behavior. For instance,
Participation rates.
rewarding single family lifestyle versus two family household or 2-parent household. I mean, I understand the gentle nature of talking about that, and it's not her fault or it's not his fault that the other parent is not there, and I totally get that. I don't disagree.
Do you mean like governmental stipend, like money?
Yeah, just generational welfare, where people can have kids out of wedlock and just have a bunch of them, and they get cash for the kids.
Some people don't get married to
Yes.
keep that money train going.
100%.
Yep.
So having a real conversation, not just about the touchy-feely of what that feels like, but what it actually creates in our community. Shonda, I think, said it early. It's like, is there a dad in the household? Is the dad in jail? Is there drugs in the household? So all these things are contributing factors to putting out a product that is not a great product. And there are some success stories of people that came from the crappiest of
Right.
situations, and they end up being wildly successful.
Right.
Hoo-yah, that's fantastic. But it's like the food program, the SNAP, that you can get X amount of dollars a month for food and go down and buy all the sugary drinks and crappy food that you want. Well, but here it is. We're talking about mental health crisis. There's all these different things that we don't talk about in our communities, and most people don't understand about health. Is all these processed foods and sugars and all that cause mental health issues.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
They make our brain do.
it stacks things on top of one on top of the other. It's, we still haven't really fully determined what causes autism. It's some kind of environmental factor. That also stacks problems. So, like, if you can clean up the food by not rewarding people for buying the sugary drink or buying whatever they want, is that a little harsh? I don't think so. If I don't want to buy you a Coke, I'm not going to buy you a Coke.
I think
If you're hungry and I have some pulled pork or something, I got some extra. Man, eat this. You're hungry. You need this more than I do. But I'm not. If you're thirsty, I'm not going to give you Mountain Dew. I'm going to give you some water.
Well, when it's tax driven, when it's my money, yeah, I don't think that should necessarily buy that. If you have a little bit of money and you want to buy yourself,
Buy whatever you want.
Go for it.
Yeah.
But if it's something that's tax appropriated, then I think it should be things that are somewhat healthy. I'm sorry, Chris, go ahead.
No, and I would even push back even further that then, not even really push back, but
Adding on.
we have to completely flip as a society back to what we once were then.
Oh yeah, we need to go back to the 80s, man. That was the best time.
Because
Seriously.
we have created such a rush, and I caught myself, not pert, caught myself kind of thinking this the other day about like to what you were saying earlier is, we get behind somebody doing the speed limit, right? And I'm just as guilty as everybody else.
5 miles under the speed limit is my
We
worst pet peeve.
are
Yelling at
them. Come on, you idiot! What are you doing? You got to be looking at your phone.
Sometimes guilty. I try every day.
We don't even know
Yeah,
what's going on.
Yeah, true.
They
could be having the worst day of their life.
We're in such a hurry because, to what you said, we are all so busy and so wrapped up that we rely on that processed food because we don't have time, right? We don't have time to sit and make a dinner and
I'm not saying we don't do a Stouffer's or Stouffer's. Excuse me,
you know what I mean.
Stouffer's lasagna is pretty fire.
Actually, it is pretty good. But if you think about that, when we get into a weather event or whatever, and the power goes out, and you've got your deep freeze full of Stouffer's microwave meals, but your microwave doesn't work.
My gas stove sure does.
But you see where I'm going with that.
I know.
That's part of, you can't rely on, but what are we doing? So I tried this week, and my daughter made fun of me.
That's what kids do.
As she should.
But as she should. Every time somebody got on my nerves the other day, I just go, "Have a good day."
Is that kind of like bless your heart?
She goes, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm turning a new leaf." And
But when you say it like that, have a good day.
the further we got into the drive, those have a good days were getting a little bit more
Bless
aggressive.
your heart.
You know what I mean? But I'm going in my head, like I'm like, why am I letting this bother me?
Yeah.
Why is it?
I have to try to.
And it's
set
easy.
myself,
Like
yeah.
my wife, bless her heart,
But for real.
she is Mario Andretti. I mean, if you're doing less than 10 over the limit, you're poking.
Not going fast
Like
enough.
we gotta go.
Yeah.
I think she and I need to meet. We're kind of she's my people.
I ask her all the time. I'm like,
Your spirit animal.
Why are we in such a hurry? What?
All right, I'm going to push back on you. I'm going to test
Go
you.
ahead.
Do it.
You're sitting at a stoplight in a turn signal with a very short turn signal, and somebody's on their phone. And
Walnut and 41.
two cars behind, and 2 cars take off, and the car sits there for.
I'm on my horn.
Okay, all right. I just
I'm on
wanted.
my horn.
I was going to call you a liar if that didn't
No,
frustrate you.
I'm on my horn. But with recent uptick in violence,
Yeah.
I have this on me all the time.
I
You need one.
try to.
I don't.
Do you want 380, 9mm, 45, 40? We got it here, baby.
I don't.
I would prefer a 40.
Here's what I think. Here's what I think's respectable. Respectful. I don't lay on the horn and give hand signals.
Right.
I'll
No, just a
go
little
beep beep beep.
Yeah.
It's like
Right.
a beep beep.
Right.
And then a lot of times if they're listening to something, I mean, I still don't think they're paying attention. Like, why is someone honking?
Right.
And
But you can tell when they're on their
But
phone.
you know what, though? Devil's advocate against myself on that. There have been times, and I've got a mount, right?
Yeah, I think we all do.
There-
Legally, you're not allowed to
There have been times where at a red light, and I get too deep into.
You're that guy?
Usually it's our messages, and I'm like scrolling trying to read,
I got to see what's on the back of his car, so I don't.
and my wife's like,
My plate's
"Lights green,"
What
and
are
I'm
you
like,
doing?
"Oh."
green. So my thing is green means go. Come on,
Right.
green means go. Let's go. Let's go. Green means go.
And you should be looking at the light on the other side and know that
To know that you're getting ready to go.
You're paying attention.
Hey,
Right.
so we've had a few of our callers chiming in. Again.
Uh-oh.
Oh boy.
Nothing huge, but let me go back here. Let's see. So one thing that was mentioned by Melanie was she said it's better than cell phones in all the kids' hands. What she meant was cameras in the classroom. So she thinks cameras in the classroom are better than cell phones in the kids' hands. I would probably agree with that. And I don't mind cameras. I think in the classroom. Personally, I don't mind that, but I'm more of a tech guy. I know we'll have a little bit of pushback. So wait, let me talk about all this, and then we'll go. She also said education must step in and provide classes to teach life skills in communication and debates. That was what you said a little earlier. I agree with that. Not every child has the privilege of family dinner tables.
That is true.
That's unfortunate.
That is true.
But she said it's like a privilege these days and not treated as a fundamental right as a human child. She says family is critical to healthy development of children. Agree. Let's see here. And a few other just just agreeing with some things. Let's see. Good. It's a good thing that stamps no longer fund junk food, which we talked about that. I agree with that. Shonda just says I cook. I don't know where that chimes in. And then Melanie said meal prep. So when you were talking about we were talking about our Stouffer's lasagna, and you mentioned power going out, she thinks the alternative to that would be meal prep.
Right.
So, to be prepared for that.
Right.
I'm thinking about doing a backup. I've really thought about Anchor has a couple of, there's a few different companies that have some good battery backup solutions for your entire home.
Right.
I've thought about some of that because normally when we have issues here, around here at least, it's like an hour maybe.
Yeah.
As long as I've got enough power to keep my house
Right.
kind of on current
Right.
for an hour, I would probably air to like 6 hours, but I've thought about doing that myself. But anyway, that's what some of our
We
callers
just try to keep options for flexibility in those.
We eat a lot. If the power goes out, we eat a lot of ice cream. I'm just going to say, we're just sitting there eating that ice cream.
But I think too, that's where we as citizens, kind of what Melanie was talking about, is we have to push for legislation change when it comes to education. I think, and I know there'll be people that disagree with me, but we have got to get away from teachers' salaries being based on student performance, because that's not a fair measurable, in my opinion. How a student tests, especially if we're getting into those students that don't care.
Are you saying
or that don't
move away
test
from
well?
standardized testing as much as possible?
Right.
Well, at least standardized testing as a gauge.
Metric.
I would 100%
For
agree
a
with that.
teacher's performance, especially if you have teachers in districts that are impoverished or historically against poor performing schools, and they're trying to make a difference, but yet their students, their school is still failing, so they don't get a raise that year.
Yeah. Or government grants.
Right.
Or whatever.
Again, the structure, but it starts with changing how the system is, and unfortunately the way things are set up, it's this side against that side against this side, and it's constantly, well, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Nobody wants to fix things equally.
So I'll chime in real quick. My daughter's 8.
Mm-hmm.
She's not really an anxious kid. When she gets to like the iReady and the iLearn and those things, she's a different kid. She's so
Right.
worried that she's going to fail or she's going to do a
Right.
bad job. To give the credit to her teachers, they try to help these kids understand that it's not has no impact on, like, it's just so that we know how well you're doing.
Right.
Don't worry about it. But she is so fearful that she is going to fail that test, or she's going to, like, there's going to be ramifications of some sort if she doesn't do well. And Melanie even said, iReady is next to be sued. She said it's already happening. I'm not entirely sure why they're being sued. So please, Melanie, let us know what you mean with that. But when it comes to those, she just had it. That's why it's fresh on my mind.
Right.
She just had it every morning. I mean, she'd sometimes cry
Yeah,
before
yeah.
she went to school, concerned that she's going to do a bad job.
And what's interesting to that is you're talking about that fear of failure, but yet when it comes to, like, everybody can do everything, right? Like I think you mentioned earlier the participation ribbons.
Yeah, I jokingly did,
we kind of got away with, like, tryouts and everybody's on the team. If you want to play, you get to play.
Right.
But yet there's this just incredible fear of failure. Mm-hmm. And it's so overwhelming, the difference there, but how impactful it is. Like, I think we've got away from the valuable failures, right? Like, for instance,
like
baseball and or softball, right? Mm-hmm. If your batting average is 300, that's great, mm-hmm. right? In most cases.
Right, that's a great, yeah. I didn't bat that.
You failed 70% of the time.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So it's okay to fail. Mm-hmm. You just have to learn and improve from it. And somewhere all that got muddied up too, mm-hmm. right? Like, you can screw up, but I think that's the fine line where we get this cyclic behavior, especially of violent offenders. Chad, you shot somebody. Don't do it again.
Not today.
And then it happened. Well, I know this was the second time you learned your lesson, right? Don't do it again. And, why are we treating that the same as,
You're going to get my wife fired up.
You didn't pass the test. You need to study harder. What can I do? Let me help you. What didn't you understand? Blah, blah, blah.
Well, I think so. My wife, she's a criminal defense attorney.
Right.
And she really could also be called a counselor and a social worker and all these other things. Because, I mean,
And a chef.
She cooks.
She cooks deliciously.
So she you know, the people that hire her, she first of all wants she asks them why they're there, and they'll say, well, I did this, this, and this. And I'm like, no, that's not why you're here. You did that. Why did you? What got you to the point where you did that thing? And she's having them reflect on their decisions and their behaviors and all that, and she holds them accountable to the things that they tell her. And then, you know, if they come back and, you know, she's like, it's the worst marketing ever because my goal is to have people not hire me again.
Right.
Meaning, you know, this was your chance. I got you the best deal that I could, protected your rights, and we talked about the things. If you had to get into a program or something to change whatever's going on. I mean, I think we don't have enough of those types of advocates in our communities, and she does that. But I mean, it's very stressful. Right. You know, and because she's not getting paid to be a social worker or whatever, she's paid, you know, to handle the crime. So I think, so just as on a positive note, this might be a little bit of a rabbit hole. I have a short clip I want you guys to see because we're talking about mental health. This particularly addresses, I think, one specific thing that's going on, but I think it goes to a bigger conversation that we could have today talking about mental health. Uh-oh. Does the speaker need to be kicked back on?
Hang on. Start it over. Now hit it.
Uh-oh.
Why am I not getting audio from you, bud?
Well, let's pause it for a second. I'll unplug it and plug it back in. We'll see if we get it. Basically, if you're not paying, I think this is probably a Fox News clip. No, it's from a different podcast, a different thing. One American News. Try it one more time. That's strange.
I'm not getting audio.
We've lost sound.
We have lost sound.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Anyway, so Secretary RFK Jr. basically just announced.
I can show the video there.
No, it's all right.
I don't know why we're.
Just announced that they're opening up research for using ibogaine and different kinds of psychedelics to treat the opioid epidemic. But there's a lot of things that many people don't know about that are used to treat PTSD, that are used to treat a bunch of different psychiatric conditions using alternative medicine and alternative therapies. And so that's been really not allowed for a very long time. Personally, I think it's because there's a lot of money in keeping people sick and relying upon drugs. But
well, yeah, if you're healthy, you don't cost money.
So Joe Rogan was actually in the Oval Office behind President Trump. He is on a texting relationship with Trump, and he sent Trump a message like, why aren't we using these different things to treat people with opioids? There's now several studies that say something to the effect of, if you do this, it's either ibogaine or some other kind of medicinal therapies. First time, like 80% improvement in opioid addiction and or conditions that go along with that. And like 2 treatments, it's over 90% better. And so why has that been held? I mean, opioid crisis was something that was a huge thing not that long ago. And there's still, I'd say several million people that are still dealing with it every day. Yeah. But that's a small win, but I think that opens up the door to talk about mental health in a larger conversation. Like, what are we actually doing as a society to treat this mass epidemic of mental health that we've got going on? You got to look outside the box. You can't ask pharmaceutical companies to create the next magic drug. Because I tell you, if I have to watch one more television show and see a pharma ad, I mean, if they would get rid of pharmaceutical ads, I'd be so happy. I'd be so happy. Yeah. We're like one of the only 2 countries on the planet that allow it. And but anyway, that's kind of a rabbit hole. But I want to do, that is some good news, I think, that we can look to as potential treatments for mental health. Yeah. So that and improving food. And
I mean, we really need to focus holistically on mental health across the board, and what can we do and what should we do to improve it. I see it almost daily, if not daily, some sort of mental health issues in my avenues. and some are treated the best they can, and some go untreated, and to the point that LEOs have had to kind of step in. And in one instance, you know, and I'm a 2A supporter through and through, but this individual is known, and I brought up the question. I said, doesn't that like involve red flag law like that? And apparently, unless they actually actively do something with a firearm, it does not apply. So even though they have a condition, and even though they are aware that they're not medicated, that cannot stop.
I think there's a fine line there. I mean, I'm a big 2A guy.
Right.
The moment I walk out my door, I'm carrying.
Right.
I pretty much at all times. I hear the argument there, definitely. But I don't know the correct answer there, but I hear where you're coming from.
And to further, they when they're involved, they take whatever firearm this individual has, but nothing prevents that individual from going and just purchasing another one, because they haven't actively done anything.
They don't have a felony,
Right.
basically. Well, I haven't looked at the statistics super closely, but like, have the shootings that have occurred recently are they known felons in most instances or not? I know some of them have been super young,
Right.
And so their records are sealed, and you know when they're juvenile, it doesn't. Which is, some of those people are like, I think Phil Smith was talking about, like some of them have been tried as adults because of just the nature of it and whatever. And unfortunately, I feel like that's probably one of the things we need to look at legislatively. I understand it's a kid, but if you have a juvenile that's known to be violent, and I think we have to change some of those rules.
Right.
Because
and then where are they getting the firearms? Are they legally obtained? I would venture to guess no.
I mean, criminals do criminal things, and you can't create more laws. It's illegal to sell a gun to somebody.
Right.
It's illegal to sell a gun to a criminal. People do it.
Right.
I mean, so I don't know how you ever get around that.
And again, how do you police it? It comes back to that. The only really is reactionary, because how are you going to know?
Yeah.
I mean,
But my reaction would be, I would become more like Sweden, and everyone would have firearms training as a young person and be comfortable with the safety side of it. And I mean, I think,
doesn't every citizen in Sweden get their own rifle or something?
it's something to that effect. I don't know if it might be required to own one. Maybe that's not right, but like nearly everyone that in there owns a gun and knows how to use a gun. And I would venture to say their violent crime and their homicides are probably much lower percentage wise.
So it had already changed by the time I was in school, but at some point, wasn't there like gun safety or wasn't there some class or something that covered firearms for you guys?
I don't know. We could be we could have a shotgun in the back window of our vehicle and
parking lot. I know that in the parking lot. I mean, we had that.
Gun safety for us was
gun safety.
We went outside with our dad and shot in the backyard.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
So that's a more recent. There definitely are gun safety requirements now.
I know that
hunter education classes and all that.
Hunter education started
Not that
early
long ago.
90s.
Yeah,
I think.
But you were grandfathered in. I forgot what the age was.
So
they were lax on that rule for a good long while.
So we've got some our callers back on the line here. Let's see. So apparently with the iReady, they are currently getting sued due to the sharing of the kids' information without permission. I don't know anything about that. I might have to really check into that. Let's see. Neuroplasticity, understanding. See, Melanie said, when I was younger, we had firearm education in 7th grade in Posey County. I thought there used to be some type of firearm education back in school. It wasn't happening when I was in school, but I thought that was a
I
thing.
could have taught that class when I was in 7th grade.
Heck yeah. I mean, me too. I did a lot of shooting back in the day, but even now, I don't know.
Yeah. So I had a couple more clips. I plugged something in.
Let's try to-
I just unplugged everything and plugged it back in. Since Melody has been so active today, I wanted to kind of raise this issue back. There's a 2-minute clip from the Sean Ryan show. And if we can't get the audio to work, the clip comes from the Sean Ryan show, episode number 284. The guy is obviously trying to remain somewhat undercover. Basically, his story, his name is Schlepp, and I'm sure that obviously that's not his real name, but basically he was a victim of something on Roblox. And so basically this clip right now is for if your kids participate on Roblox,
My kid is not allowed to have Roblox.
or Snapchat or any of these other platforms, especially with AI changing how things are going on. I was going to clip up a bunch of different pieces of this podcast, but I think it's really strong. I think it's like a 3.5 hour podcast. It's huge. This particular clip, if you are around kids, if it plays, Sean Ryan gets livid about. Actually, that's not true. Yeah, this is 208. Okay, so this is starting at the 208 point. If I can get it to come on. It's basically talking about how easy it is for a online predator to, your kid will enter one of these chat rooms and basically the predators start going after them like so rapidly, it's crazy. And so if it plays, we'll talk about it. If it doesn't, we'll just be sure to tune into that and take a look at it yourself. Let's try it again, Trav.
And then V, yeah.
There we go.
Okay, and then just hit play on that. The game next to it is a Tinder game on Roblox. They have Tinder on Roblox. Yeah, so just hit start. So we got someone messaging us. Just here, you can...
Already?
Oh, well, you know what Omegle is?
Yeah.
It's functionally the same exact game, so just...
Click start.
Yeah, just click start. Actually, someone's trying to add you. Just hit accept on that. He's probably going to try to send a message. But you can just keep hitting start until we message back. Okay. Keep skipping us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh.
This is basically like chat roulette.
Yeah, this is chat roulette. You'll have someone asking something. Just say hi back. Say, what are you doing? Oh, you freaky. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Are you fucking serious,
First guy.
dude?
Yeah, you freaky. Yeah, he's wanting to...
Are you fucking serious? That was like 5 seconds
say-
again.
say yeah.
There it is, the time.
Say yes.
Yeah, just say yes and see what he wants to do.
That was like 20 seconds.
Yeah, 20 seconds was on the time. That's how long it took. Are you actually? Let's just see what he's gonna say. He's probably gonna try to get us on either Snapchat or Discord.
No,
Oh, he's trying
find-
to add us.
Should we
what's
add him?
No, I wouldn't add him. Just see. How do you say? You can just skip him, honestly. But yeah, I mean,
You can just see.
It's already there.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
already fucking there.
Mm-hmm. You can just skip this guy.
Oh my gosh, that was like the first fucking guy.
Yeah, this guy. This is what people are wanting to do to your kids on this game. Yeah. Hi. One question. Okay. Let's
No
see.
fucking way.
What do you think
dude.
his question?
Are
Are
you-
you freaky? He's gonna say it. Yeah.
Holy shit! Are you fucking?
It is very F-bomb laced, and I apologize for that. But if you're a parent, especially a parent with a young kid, these types of things are not just happening on Roblox. These things are happening on all kinds of different platforms. And again, people are inserting different groups and chats. This guy basically says there's several apps that you should absolutely not let your kid be on. It's made me reevaluate some of the things. I'm gonna have to take another look at my 15-year-old's phone and see what he's been on. And but it's like things like this. so there's a whole story that goes on, and there's several, countless stories of girls being targeted and snagged and gang raped and all kinds of just sick, crazy things. But the other part of it is, the bullying and the conversations and the, putting pornographic material in front of your kids without there's just so many things that are going on out there. And we're talking about mental health. We're talking about, protecting our kids at every level. And I want to thank Melanie for being so passionate about this. And
She said a lot more since we last.
No, I know. So she's got a lot to say, and I think she's talking to several politicians at the state level and beyond, and trying to get people involved in this, and that's the type of thing that we need in the community, and people getting involved, parents getting involved, and it hits home close and personal to her. So she obviously is wanting to try to prevent other people from having it happen.
Man, I feel it. Having an 8-year-old daughter, I feel all this.
Yeah.
I'd have no problem putting these people down and going to jail for it the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even.
So every conversation that you and I, Travis, whenever you push back on me about, there's nothing that, when we talk about flock cameras, and we talk about, now there's all kinds of things that people are saying, flocks are self-initiating, and they're in gymnastic studios and in these different places, and they're just turning on, and there's people that are watching the things that are going on in those things without permission. And there's been lawsuits pushing back on these different platforms. And so my only point whenever I'm pushing back and saying, no, I don't want a camera in a school. I don't want any more cameras than, if I want to have one around my house to protect my house from someone doing something bad, that's on me. But I'm not going to.
But why do you want them around your house if you don't want them in the classroom?
Well, that's totally different.
Protection of your child.
Yeah, but protecting my child isn't having a camera in there looking at them in their room that somebody can get access to and look and also be looking at them in their room. That's the overlap and the where I think having this creeping technology is going to cause problems. Like we do it with the best of intentions, with safety. We want them, of course, having a flock camera success story is fantastic, and we can stop maybe this person from running into someone because we tracked them right here and we know they're heading in this direction. Fantastic. Those are not the outcomes that I'm talking about here. It's it's like, I think my wife says it a lot, and the criminal justice system basically says they want to have 10 people walk free that are guilty rather than having one innocent person in jail. You reverse engineer that, and I know it's different whenever it's your kid. That's true. So part of it is like beyond a reasonable doubt. The reason why, a jury of your peers, if one person doesn't believe you're guilty on that jury, then you're not guilty. So it's that protection against the bad scenario that, like, well, it shouldn't be 10 to 1. I don't know where I'm going with this, really, with specific back to the point of too much technology, not good. Too many cameras, to me, not good. I don't want someone watching me walk down the street. When I walk out of my neighborhood and I'm walking down the street, why does someone be able to need to watch me on my whole path and know where I'm at all the time? I don't want that. And I understand, yes, if I have my phone on me and I don't have it where it's not tracing me, if I don't leave it back at the house, they can do that. That's on me. But I just, this is where I'm always going to kind of push back on you, and not because I don't agree with how it makes you feel, the protection that you think it might provide. It's the unintended consequences, I guess.
That's how they caught the shooter of the most recent shooting, was through the flock cameras.
Right.
Well, actually, they caught the driver, and then the driver gave up the shooters. But
well, the story that you were talking about with the Joint Task Force, I think those people were found via flock as well. Yeah. And that's how they got on top of them before they shot the guy. No. One of them survived, one of them didn't. I don't remember how it all went down. But to circle back and kind of end this clip with, I strongly recommend everyone watch this podcast with Sean Ryan, and we need to do a better job of having these conversations in our community with what's going on in our school. I firmly believe this is a place where EVSC should be really having regular conversations with our kids. And this is where I would want to know what that curriculum is and what they're talking about. But you're not going to have every parent that's going to listen to us talk about this and then take the actions to know these are the things that you have to do to protect your kids from online predators.
Right.
But if you were talking to them when they're in your class and saying, here's all these different platforms and things that are going on, here's the signals that you can look for. If people are asking you these questions, what's it called?
I don't have
Phishing or trolling or whatever.
I don't have it in front of me here. Maybe you could share if you have it. But there is, I think it's Friday. They are having at North High School a security, some type of gathering to talk about how to help your kids be secure online. Do you have that information?
Yeah, I shared that with you somewhere, didn't I?
I'm not sure. I think you did. Well, so that hang on. Let's see here.
I think I might have sent it to you on Facebook.
I know it's Friday. This coming Friday, the 24th, there is
Here it
a digital safety summit.
I'm getting ready to pull it up. Here in just a second.
National Children's Alliance, Central High School. Let's see here, from 5 to 8. Did you pull it up? I didn't see it there. Let's see. You mean to go to your monitor?
Yeah, so if you all are on Facebook, you're watching live right now, you obviously can go there. But Holly's House posted this. I think Lieberman Technologies is putting on a digital safety summit Friday, April 24th. And I think Travis already said that, 5 to 8 p.m. In person. I think they even said food was going to be.
Food is going to be there. I'm going to either join virtually or go there.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is definitely a conversation that's worth participating in. I probably won't go there, but I'll definitely check in on it online. Hopefully they're going to record it and I can watch it afterwards if I don't, because the Friday nights with us are really crazy with a 15-year-old kid. Yeah, check this out. I think if you, like I said, go to Holly's House on Facebook. That's the only place that I've seen. I'm probably Lieberman Technologies might have it on their page as well. And you can register that way. Probably if you register, they'll know how much food they need to have. That's probably what they want you to register for.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got a bad tickle, guys.
Okay.
All right, so we talked about crime. Did you say anything or what you wanted to say about the IURC?
We haven't
That whole
gone
situation.
there yet.
Yeah, we have.
Let's start a whole new segment.
Yeah, so let's. I think we've done a pretty good job of talking about the things I wanted to talk about. Let's circle back around to. I mean, you and Travis participated and went to the IURC meeting, right? You didn't.
I went to the budget meeting.
The budget.
Okay.
Which was eye-opening all on its own. But
Yeah.
And you went to the IURC.
Yeah.
Okay, so just kind of just kind of frame why we're talking about this. So for those that haven't been tuned into the Centerpoint conversation, basically this was a conversation having to do with our skyrocketing energy costs.
Right.
Politicians, or at least and Centerpoint and the IURC, at least are superficially listening to people. My question is, like, where's the rubber hitting the road, and what's actually going to transpire because of these things? And I think that's on us to make sure that stuff, the dots connect there. But kind of give us your insider perspective of that, that whole thing and your thoughts on it.
So yeah, there's been enough pushback and a new group of commissioners for the IURC. So it actually opened an investigation into electricity rates in the state, primarily focused around, I believe, the big five. They brought them in, which included Centerpoint and NIPSCO. It kind of let them tell their story of why rates need to be where they are. And then after that, opened a listening session at ONEP with IURC. It started out with local representation, kind of speaking, pleading that, we're struggling, we're hurting. The room was, I don't know, 2/3 full maybe.
About how many people would that equate to?
I'm guessing there was somewhere around 150 citizens,
Okay.
and probably 20
better than the budget meeting.
Politicians.
representatives. And it was interesting to me because the chairman did cut the representation portion he said, look, we know you wanted to talk, but we want to hear from the ratepayers. That's why we're here. I had posted leading into it, and I kind of got some pushback, that why we did this before the rate increase, and they still got it anyway, which they did get a rate increase, but it was adjusted. It wasn't what they were originally asked. But the citizens that spoke were well prepared. There were a handful that just got up there mad.
Ranting.
Ranting that, it does not help really at all. I get it. I understand the being upset. I understand the passion, but in situations like these, there's a process that must be followed, whether I agree with the process or not. And they pointed to that. But very good talk. Every member that was present took what appeared to be diligent notes. I left feeling that they realize it's out of control and something needs to be done. I don't know what that's going to entail.
Well, more than just the kilowatt hour billing, I think there's been a lot of just random fees and things that are showing up that are causing issues.
I ended up speaking at the podium as well that evening. I had a pre-written speech for myself that I pretty much crumpled up and threw away because after hearing so many go before me, I was just going to echo.
Yeah.
So I kind of ad-libbed. I did bring up, I had filed a complaint with the IURC, and they actually had written me back in reference NIPSCO as my utility provider instead of CenterPoint. And I made sure to point that out, actually kind of sarcastically, because I more or less said, if you can't get this right, why would I have faith that you're going to do right? Regulating. Their CenterPoint structure, basically with IURC, if you file a complaint, you have to contact the utility provider first, but you can't, you're only getting so much. I mean, the utility provider, at least my experience with CenterPoint, is not going to give you like clear information to accept fault, right? Like, there was a lot of instances where people questioned these new electronic meters, the reliability, the accuracy. There was a gentleman there that had received a message that he used all this electricity and he was out of town and actually had his main breaker turned off. When you break down the fees, I don't see how they can get your bill right. I believe it was 19 separate lines of electricity charges, and they go positive, negative, because there's adjustments and this rider or tracker, and it's impossible for a regular person to figure it out. But I felt like it was productive. They took it very seriously. It seemed. I made sure to reiterate, because after I was done, the chairman asked me a couple clarifying questions, and I made sure to reiterate, you don't get the utility provider right. How should I trust this is going to do something? One of the more interesting things with CenterPoint is I believe we are the smallest market in the state as far as utility, and that is primarily the reason why we pay more, because there's less of us to go around. So if they if they invest $1 billion and they try to recoup that as allowed through the IURC, it's divided amongst less people. Whereas Duke, if they invest $1 billion, it's 900,000 people that are paying that slice.
Part of
pie.
what I've heard as well is, I mean, our providers in Texas, and what we don't know is Texas has been forced to do a lot of the solar, wind, and all that through legislative reason legislatively, and CenterPoint has to stay much more competitive in Texas with their ratepayers and the people that live there, because there's other energy companies vying for those houses and businesses and whatever. Like, we don't have that. We're a captured audience,
Right.
and so we just get whatever it is that we get. We don't have any options around it, so we are definitely in a chokehold.
And that was an argumented point by both representation and citizens that, you know, give us a choice, give us other opportunities. Glaringly to me, customer service is an issue with CenterPoint. And then, I mean, even Senator Tomes got his bill out and had a conversation after the fact of like, look, you know, so they understand. I mean, I felt positive of that. And then after that outcome, Evansville City Council I believe it was the very next council meeting, passed a resolution asking, I guess, the IURC to pause all future rate increases for now, because it's becoming increasingly obvious that this is not sustainable.
Is that when Braun announced basically he was going to stop any Indiana state gas tax for at least 30 days, but probably on?
I believe so. One of the more concerning tokens that was said both at that meeting and then again at City Council by Christopher Nork was there are 16,000 customers that are 2 months or more behind for a total of $5 million
Wow.
in Evansville. In Evansville. That's not their whole, but in Evansville. So think about that. I mean, that's huge. So that's people that are going to be on the street. Again, it's an issue that, you know, we talk about economic development, we talk about attracting business, we talk about, which that's a whole nother conversation how they pay their rates. But how can you attract talent? How can you attract business when it's this out of control? I mean, and I would argue at this point, electricity is no longer a luxury. It's a necessity. I mean, kids have tablets or what have you for school. Everything's done electronically. The medical equipment, you know, if you have a CPAP, or, you know, like, you have to have electricity, and something has to change. Again, it ties, I think it directly ties into affordability and crime and mental health and the anxiety of, you know, I mean, what do you do? Yeah, people are juggling, you know, okay, well, I'll pay the electric bill late this month. That way I can pay the house payment. Next month I'll pay the house payment late so I can catch the electric bill up. And it's almost, from some of the stories, and I don't know how much truth, I know my bill, right? But some of the stories I've heard, they're, you know, randomly changing their budget bill, telling them, oh, this is how much you owe versus this is how much, you really owe, and I've experienced that on my bill recently, and I didn't, because people misunderstand on the post. Apparently, reading comprehension can be difficult. I didn't get all the screenshots right away because I didn't catch it right away, but I went to pay my bill, and it told me disconnect on, or April 9th or whatever if you don't pay this. And I went, what? April 9th? My bill's always due like the 20 whatever. So I actually looked at the bill, because I was going through the app, and the bill told it was mailed the 8th. So I thought, well, how can I pay it the 9th and disconnect? Well, then when I did pay what it told me to pay, then it said I still owed like 15 whatever dollars or disconnect. And of course everybody was like, well, that's this plus this. And I'm like, but when you open the app, like I know what it is, but when you open the app, what I totally owe should be what it tells me. Not this is your bill and your late fee separate. And that's why people are getting their power turned off. And then they get, they have to pay an extra deposit or a $300 disconnect fee, or they're
reconnect.
Like that to me is predatory. It's misleading. It's, I shouldn't have to do the math for you. If I owe you $300, including my late fee, that's what your bill should tell me. Not your bill is $250 plus $50 late fee. You should do the math for me, not me. I don't need to do that, And, you talk about anxiety and
Frustration.
People, what happens? You can't, man, I've only got $300 for the next week, and my kids got to eat, and my electric bill is $300. I guess I'm going to go steal some T-bone steaks or what, I'm being kind of facetious, but, that then theft
kids
starts.
gotta eat.
Then,
Right.
And unfortunately you get away with this, right? Oh, I'm not going to pay for that. Today I can't. Oh, I got away with that. Well, now I can not pay for this.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's everybody, but it so hopefully I don't know what they can do. Clearly again, legislation needs to change. I know there's a lot of people still pushing for solar, but financially, it's not feasible the way it's set up right now. If you have solar and you're feeding back to the grid, they're making money off of you too. So why should they pay you 3 cents when they're selling it to me for 24 cents?
Yeah.
They should pay you 24 cents. They shouldn't get the profit off of electricity you're providing.
Well, you also didn't mention right around the tax filing date, and then everybody's taxes are due.
Right.
If you pay them, if you're paying them right now, it's another, you got a lot of people, you're supposed to save that money and then pay the taxes, and
Right.
And it's just harder and harder to do.
Right.
There's, I think we filled up my wife's car the other day. It was $70.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, I'm going to pivot just a little bit. There's I think Travis knew about it, but there's have you heard of Nick Shirley? I'm sure you have. Mm-hmm. So I don't really understand why Democrats have decided they want to hate him. I really don't get it. And I don't understand why people who are voters hate someone that's, finding corruption and finding misspending of our tax dollars. Basically, in California alone, he became famous for the whole thing in Minnesota.
Yeah.
and the Leering Center and the billions of dollars that were wasted going to people, hospice programs that didn't exist. They weren't taking care of anyone. So apparently he's basically just started in California, and I think it was San Francisco alone, something to the effect of 10% of all hospice companies are located in San Francisco, like in the entire country. They have he went to an apartment complex that was converted into like suite numbers, and there was like 89 hospice companies in one building. And so
That's not a red flag.
he's talking billions and billions and billions of dollars. Meanwhile, you know, we're being forced to pay higher and higher taxes, and you know, people. So anyway, the point of this was, the whole point of this podcast, the point of what I feel we need is more honest, transparent conversations.
What about the Stop Nick Shirley Act?
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like,
Okay.
that's what I'm getting to that. Like, and I got a clip here if it works again. But you know, that I'll share the clip, and that talks about the Stop Nick Shirley Act. But we have to have conversations like this, and we have to have conversations with people who don't consider themselves Republicans or Democrats. And you know, this is one of those topics again that I think local Democrats have failed, because they're not saying, yeah, we absolutely need 100% accountability and transparency. And according to this clip, you know, my colleagues that are Democrats in California don't want accountability and transparency. They're okay with taxpayer dollars being wasted. So, like, do you really care about people? Do you care about people that are struggling to survive? Do you care about homeless people? Because your words don't really align with the people that you're trying to cancel. Let's listen to this clip, and if you haven't seen this, I think this will this will raise a lot of eyebrows for people. So again, me and Travis are trying to start something here that's forcing accountability, forcing transparency. So when I see legislation like this and conversations like this, it really scares me that this could come to the local level. I mean, we're not so special that that it can't happen here. So let's take a listen. Hopefully it works.
California Democrats are taking heat for a new bill they're pushing that one lawmaker has now dubbed the Stop Nick Shirley Act. Some people are arguing that the proposed legislation effectively criminalizes investigative journalism. GOP Florida Senator and member of the Homeland Security Committee, Ashley Moody, joins me now. You know, fraud has been a big focus for you when you were AG in Florida, and now that you're a senator here in Washington. Give me your reaction to this. I mean, they're basically saying you can't go out and investigate in the way that Nick Shirley did in Minneapolis.
Yeah, this doesn't surprise me at all. A lot of, you know, we're uncovering in these commie criminal havens, let's call them, you know, their policies have bankrupted their states, and they've built that in to these structural deficits like California. I think Massachusetts is struggling with deficits. All of these policies that they're implementing don't drive real market-driven prosperity. In fact, it wrecks true markets and the ability of a state to thrive, like Florida, right? Compare and contrast. We run a deficit every year. So then they go and cry to the federal government, we need all these grants, we need all this money, and they push that money out to these NGOs and other organizations, which through all kinds of grants, health grants, you name it. You saw some of the stuff coming through COVID or even green energy during Biden, just pushing out billions and billions of dollars. And then when you have Americans like Nick Shirley showing up and saying, where's my taxpayer money going? You're using so much of it to shield and cover up what you're pushing to, I would say illegally, to illegal immigration or other things. Now they want to cover it up. They want to stop any way of an American taxpayer coming in and demanding transparency. They've already been shutting out Congress and its oversight. They definitely did that during the Biden administration. And now they're seeing Nick Shirley have some success. They're going to try and cover up and block anybody like that from coming in. So it doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, it does make you wonder, like, what?
So, again, I'm a nonpartisan guy. I do lean right. I would be open and honest about that. I definitely do not lean left on a lot of things. But when it comes to just wasting money, fraud and abuse, like if you're okay with the government giving money to criminals and forcing taxpayers to pay for it, taxpayers that are already have an affordability crisis. I mean, California, people are fleeing that state by the droves. And I mean, even here in Evansville, people are moving out of the city, and we are, and they are moving people into the city, but they're not the same tax rate, whatever. So we're going to have more and more budget deficit because we're driving away higher income earners, and we're pulling in people that are already living off the system. And so, show this clip, or show this screenshot here, Trav. So we reached the point in the matrix where the government officials who are guilty of fraud are creating laws that will imprison the people investigating their crimes. I thought that was like really kind of pinpointed where I hope at least one of the channels in this podcast that we're creating together is holding people accountable. And I just, our local media, I think they all go in and do their jobs. I know many people in local media, but their hands are tied. I mean, they're funded by corporations, they're funded by pharmaceutical companies, they're funded by Centerpoint, and so they can't go force the issue and ask the difficult questions and demand things from people that we need. And I think largely what the conversation that we've been having, Chris and Travis, is we are where we are because of how we've behaved in the past and what we've allowed. And I think this is just another one of those things that we've allowed mediocrity, and we're not asking enough questions. So that's what I'm dedicated to doing that, and I appreciate all the support. Quick shout out to our supporters. Jerry Rogers, thank you very much, my friend, for supporting us. Lawn Masters, they've done some treatments on our yard here, and it's looking better and better every day. I appreciate that. Jeff Bossy, we're getting ready to name a podcast studio after. So I don't think you and I have talked about that yet, Travis. And my friend Jason Greer and his family are supporting us. He does carpet cleaning. So if you guys if you want to support me without supporting me directly, look out to the people that support the podcast, and give them some business and tell them that we sent you if you don't mind. You guys have anything else you want to dive into? I've got several things, but we're losing Travis over here, and you're looking a little sleepy, Trav.
I'm just resting on my fist here. Whatever this is called. I'm
resting my eyes
on my fist.
I'm just resting my eyes in between.
We're fine, man. It's
No.
7:30. We're good.
I know it's 7:30. So you got anything else you want to dig into this time around?
I think kind of to add to the whole fraud and the quote about the people that are committing the fraud are now rewriting,
We're from the government. We're here to help.
Right.
Even though we caused the problem. Yeah.
the scariest thing you can ever hear. It just comes back to the storytelling. Like, we're not dumb. Give us the truth. Why are we, hey, we screwed up. We let this fraud. Own it. I just don't understand why we frame things the way we frame, and we storytell so much, especially in the political realm. I seen something the other day that was talking about how the Democrats are turning out for the primary. Well, there's really only two primary races, one from each ticket that even matter.
Well,
everything else is unopposed.
Well, Virginia just redrew their lines, by the way.
Yeah. But like locally, why are you, and then historically, Democrat voters vote early. Republican voters don't typically.
Yeah.
So like
Dead voters also vote early.
Why? And often. Vote early and often. That was one quote that I never really often.
You didn't understand until you did.
Often. I just.
The cemetery is my voter base.
Why do we have to frame everything like, again, I think it starts there. It's me against you, me against you, me against you. And forget that. that party don't care any more about you as a person than, in most cases, the company you work for cares about you as a person. Because if you leave, they're going to insert somebody else 9 times out of 10 without blinking an eye. So why the loyalty? I just don't get it. Why the blind? And this is on both sides of that coin. Like you, I consider myself an independent. I'm all over the place depending on what topic it is. But I don't understand. And really, if you think about it, Indiana's a mess anyway because we have open primaries, you know, and I could go in and pull a Democrat ballot. I can go in and I can pull a Republican ballot. But as an independent, I can't do anything. I can't caucus, you know. Is that fair? Because I can't caucus because I'm an independent.
Well, I mean, the system's not set up for fairness.
Right.
I think you know that.
I know that.
I think it's going. You know, the whole left versus right thing is just
right.
a big distraction. They're two wings of the same bird, and they're all just looking for individual power. I don't think there's no local politician that's proven to me that they care anything about individuals. Right. And it's not even about the party. It's just about what is the platform going to give me. And the thing that concerns me, and I'm just, again, I feel like I'm picking on Democrats a little bit tonight, but I mean, what's always bothered me about hypocrisy in politics is if you say something, it shouldn't matter if it was a Republican or a Democrat that was guilty of doing it. And Travis mentioned, I guess Virginia just did a bunch of gerrymandering, and they're basically, you know, making it where only Democrats can win. And yet I don't hear a Mary Allen or anyone locally talking about how democracy is being stolen because it's happening in Virginia. Mm-hmm. And they were talking about doing it in Indiana, but democracy is being stolen. They were talking about it in Indiana. Right. Like, if you really believe that gerrymandering is bad, then sit down in front of another person who doesn't agree with you on your position that you're taking and have a conversation and be on record with it. If you can't do that, to me, you should never be in politics. You should never earn a vote. You should never be in office, because we have to be a country set on morals and values. And if you can lie just to get a vote, pander just to get this done, even though you have no power to do what's really going to fix it, nor are you going to have the conversation that would potentially create the fix. Like, right. You really have no intention of fixing it. You're just pandering to get the vote. I mean, I see that almost in every local politician right now. They won't sit down and have a tough conversation. They won't be on record saying, yeah, my party who did that as Democrats in Virginia should not do that. And I will go to my state I'll do everything in my power within this state to make sure that's a level platform. You and I and Travis talk about topics. Like, this is right, this is wrong. Is it right? Why is it right only when it happens to one side of the aisle and not right on the other side? That's not the way this is supposed to work. And so hopefully, because we know we're not going to move the needle and change anything at the national level on any podcast, unless you become Joe Rogan and you can text Donald Trump, you might get something done. But like you and I, what we can do is create a group of people that are passionate about the things that we agree on topically, that are important topics, not that we agree on the topics, and create synergy and energy to make it happen. I think what this all comes down to, and we've said it a bunch of times on this podcast, and I just hope it resonates with enough people quick enough. It's like, we have to organize as a state to change the law that protects Centerpoint from having a monopoly. Right. People have all these online debates complaining about Governor Braun, complaining about whatever. It is always going to come back down to people. And I'm sorry, but if you're a lobbyist and you're in the wind and solar energy group, and that's the only thing you care about, so you're pushing for policies that are supporting that and that only because that's what you think the solution is, you're not here to solve a problem. Right.
Well,
That's the reason why we're here.
right. You're not here for the people.
No.
Because not everybody can afford a $50,000.
The reason why our power is so more expensive now is because Texas went
Right.
largely wind and solar, and they're pushing that cost to us. And rather than using the coal beneath our feet because it's not clean, I mean, we could be energy independent.
Right.
With natural gas and coal, we could almost be 100% independent.
And it's just like, to that point, when the statements started arising that, well, the DOE forcing Vector and Coley to remain open when it's not needed, it's obsolete, because the CEO of Centerpoint even said it. Well, yeah, I'm going to trust everything he's saying. You know, it's costing so much money. Okay, show me that.
Yeah.
Show me where it's costing that, and what's the difference from how much is it going to cost in June, July, August, September, when we can't provide enough electricity to run everybody's AC, and we're buying from the MISO grid that went from somewhere around $30 a kilowatt hour to $666 a kilowatt hour last year.
Yeah.
666.
Yeah. And show me,
Whoa.
show me which one's less, which one's more, right? You know what I mean? There's no doubt that it's costing money to keep it open. I completely understand that. But when you walk in a room and say, well, it's costing $2 billion to keep this open, without telling me what it's costing if we don't, you're only, that's scary. It's a big scary number, right? It's got a bunch of zeros behind it, you know?
Well, the scary part to me is they raise prices indiscriminately. They say they have, here's why, but there's no transparency, just like you said. And we have no guarantee. And in fact, we can look back into the near past and say, we know they're going to raise prices indiscriminately moving forward forever.
Right.
And yet we're not making that much more money to make, like, our cost of living is going up and up and up.
Right.
And we can't make enough to keep up with it. And
Well,
energy is a big part of that now.
And they said that part of the reason why they had to do all these increases was all these clean energy initiatives that they were going to do, and then they decided not to do them because they're not feasible. They're going to cost too much.
No, they were scams.
But
do you
we're
not
still-
remember all those solar
we're
programs
still
and those
paying
companies?
for it.
Do you remember all the companies
Oh,
that
yeah.
got funded? Like, it's the same thing as the hospice. It's the same things as the Leering centers. They come up with a policy. They say it's going to be, here's the magic number, we need the money.
Right.
And then there's no plan. They throw the money out into there, and they wonder why our energy problems are what
Right.
they are.
Right.
And then the Democrats act like they don't understand that.
Right.
And the Republicans, to the Democrats' credit, act like they don't understand why it's happening. We all know, anyone that has really dug into this, you know why it's happening. It's because
Right.
of the bureaucracy, it's because of government, it's because of shitty policies.
Right.
And the only way you get away from that is if we revolt in some way, or we just say, we're going to figure out a way and break free from your system.
Well, and two, it all comes down to the legislation, because, like, no matter what, they're writing stuff in that they know isn't going to work, right?
Right.
Or it's benefiting. So while I might be addressing this, I'm getting this out the backside of it because I wrote it in on it, instead of just simple, no, you can't do this anymore. No fluff, no extra, well, we're going to allow that, this, the other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just a clean, this is the new thing. And they take advantage of it. And then they go, well, I tried to get the, you know, we're facing a super majority, so we can't. And you are. I get it. You don't have to tell me that part, but it sounds good, and it tells me, oh, well, he's trying. He's doing his job, so I'm going to give him more votes. Well, should I? Or should I vote for somebody that can do something? You know what I mean? That's not going to tell me the excuse of why I can't. You know?
Well, whether they can or can't do something, to me, it is about having the boldness to say the system is broken.
Right.
And I'm not going to go along with the status quo anymore.
Right.
And I'm not going to pander to voters. I'm going to rip the Band-Aid off. We're going to talk about what's going on. We're going to say, here are our only real options.
Right.
And then all I hear right now, again, this is me just kind of dog on Democrats a little bit. All I hear is it's Republicans' fault. There's a Republican that's a governor,
Right.
and that's why we are where we are. And that's not Mike Braun's fault. And I'm not running shelter for Mike
Right.
Braun, but that's not his fault. And the problem is, it's the people's fault. It's
Right.
It's our fault,
Right.
and it's our parents' fault for not asking the right questions. And it's
The hard questions.
the hard questions, and forcing our elected officials to give us the answers that they have, like what is this, what's happening,
Right.
and what's the plan to get out of it. I mean, this has been going on for more than just 5 years. It's been going on for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And so part of this conversation, why I appreciate you coming on again, is just continuing to raise awareness. I hope we keep pushing each other to explore uncomfortable conversations. I appreciate everything that you're doing, trying to get involved in the attending as many local meetings as you can and learning as much as you can about the ins and outs of local government. And I feel like, you know, we absolutely have to have more conversations, not from, you know, the fact that we're going to get 10,000 views or 10,000 followers from a conversation like this, but it's, you know, everything that we're saying is being documented, and it's like, okay, so we're